There's a secret most men carry to their graves. A truth so uncomfortable, so brutally honest, that they'd rather live in delusion than face it head on. They'll discuss philosophy at dinner parties, quote ancient wisdom on social media, debate the meaning of existence with strangers online, but mention one particular philosopher's observations about women? Silence. 200 years ago, Arthur Schopenhauer didn't just write about love and relationships, he dissected them. Like a surgeon with a scalpel, he cut through every romantic fantasy, every fairy tale, every beautiful lie we tell ourselves about the nature of attraction. What he discovered was so disturbing that modern men still refuse to acknowledge it. Here's what's fascinating, though. The men who dismiss Schopenhauer's insights, they're living proof of them. Every heartbreak, every divorce, every moment of confusion when she suddenly loses interest, it all follows the patterns he predicted. But here's the thing most men miss entirely. Ignoring truth doesn't make it disappear. It just makes you a victim of it. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly where you've been deceived. You'll see the invisible strings that have been pulling you through life. And most importantly, you'll discover something that will change everything you thought you knew about power, attraction, and human nature itself. So settle in, because what you're about to hear isn't just controversial. It's the missing key most men will never grasp. Schopenhauer didn't believe in fairy tales. While other philosophers waxed poetic about love's transcendent power, he saw something else entirely. Something that would make romantics weep and realists nod in grim recognition. Love isn't what you think it is. Not a spiritual bond, not destiny, not some cosmic connection between kindred souls meeting across the vastness of existence. Love is a biological trick, a ruthless illusion designed by nature for one purpose: reproduction. And here's the part that will shake you to your core. When you feel that electric attraction, that obsessive desire, that absolute conviction that she's the one, your brain isn't connecting with her soul. It's calculating, running algorithms, processing data about fertility, genetic compatibility, and survival advantages. Your romantic feelings? They're nothing more than evolutionary programming, running in the background of your consciousness. Think about it. Really think about it. How many men have you known who destroyed themselves for a woman who later walked away without a second thought? How many marriages crumble the moment the passion fades? How many divorces happen right after the biological imperative, children, is fulfilled? That's not coincidence. That's not bad luck. That's not even personal failure. That's nature's design. The system doesn't care about your happiness. It cares about genetic continuation. You're just a vessel, a temporary host for an ancient program that's been running for millions of years. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. Women know this, maybe not consciously, but instinctively. They understand the game better than most men ever will. And that understanding, it gives them an advantage so profound that most men never even realize they're being outplayed. Now, you might be thinking, but surely women choose based on character, right? On kindness, loyalty, shared values? That's the beautiful lie we tell ourselves. Here's the uncomfortable truth that Schopenhauer observed 2 centuries ago. Women don't choose men based on fairness. They don't choose based on logic. They certainly don't choose based on the qualities that would make a good husband or father. They follow what I call the selection protocol, an ancient program hardwired into their DNA, designed to seek 3 things: status, security, and genetic superiority. Everything else, everything you've been told matters. It's secondary, tertiary, often completely irrelevant. A man's devotion means nothing if he can't provide these three elements. His love is worthless. His commitment is ignored. His sacrifice is taken for granted. Schopenhauer saw this clearly. Women are rarely guided by reason. They are ruled by instinct and emotion. This isn't misogyny, it's observation. Cold, hard data collected over a lifetime of watching human behavior. Look around you. Dating apps where 80% of women compete for the top 20% of men. Divorce courts, where decades of commitment get rewarded with financial destruction. History books filled with stories of kings who died for mistresses that betrayed them the moment someone better appeared. The pattern doesn't change because the biology doesn't change. Most men believe love is mutual, that if they sacrifice enough, care enough, prove their worth thoroughly enough, they'll earn genuine affection in return. But Schopenhauer warned, to be loved, one must not be just, but clever. See, women don't fall for nice. They fall for strength. Not just physical strength, but social strength, financial strength, psychological strength. The kind of strength that doesn't need to prove itself. This is why the good guy finishes last. Not because he's unworthy, but because he fundamentally misunderstands the game he's playing. He thinks love is earned through service, through being useful, through making himself indispensable. But women, by instinct, are drawn to men who don't need to serve. Men who command rather than comply. Men who inspire rather than beg. And here's the kicker that most men discover too late. Ever noticed something strange about female behavior? How women lose interest once they've secured a man? How the chase suddenly reverses the moment commitment is established? There's a reason for this, a reason so counterintuitive that it drives men to madness. Schopenhauer called it the tragedy of possession. The thrill isn't in having, it's in conquering. Once the conquest is complete, once the challenge is eliminated, biology moves on to the next target. That's why men who cling too hard inevitably watch her walk away. Why making her the center of your world is the fastest way to lose her. Why the needier you become, the more she pulls away. It's not personal, it's programmed. But here's what's fascinating about this paradox. The men who understand it, they use it. They create artificial scarcity. They maintain challenge. They never fully submit to the conquest. The men who don't understand it, they do exactly what feels natural. They pursue harder. They give more. They prove their devotion through increased service. And they lose. Every single time. Now you might be thinking, this can't be right. This is too cynical, too dark. But here's the twist that changes everything. This isn't women's fault. It's nature's design. And the man who understands this stops blaming and starts strategizing. Schopenhauer's lesson isn't to hate women, it's to see them clearly. To recognize that love isn't a fantasy, it's a negotiation. And the man who negotiates from weakness loses before the conversation even begins. But this revelation, it's just the beginning. Because what comes next reveals why modern men are being systematically outplayed in every arena of life. And more importantly, how to flip the script entirely. Here's what Schopenhauer understood, that most men today still refuse to admit. The rules of attraction aren't fair, they aren't logical, and they certainly aren't in your favor. While modern society preaches equality, biology operates on a completely different set of laws. Laws that were written millions of years ago. Laws that don't care about your feelings, your fairness, or your modern sensibilities. And the man who ignores these laws, he's already lost before the game begins. Here's the brutal reality that will shatter every romantic delusion you've ever held. Women hold the ultimate leverage in relationships, not because they're cruel, not because they're manipulative, but because nature designed them to be selectors. Think about it. From the moment puberty hits, a woman's value in the sexual marketplace peaks. She starts at the top. Meanwhile, a man's value must be built through struggle, status, and survival. He starts at the bottom. She has instant access to attention, validation, and options. He has to earn every scrap of interest through achievement and demonstration of worth. Schopenhauer put it bluntly. Women are suited to being the nurses and teachers of our childhood by the very fact that they themselves are childish, frivolous, and short-sighted. Before you react emotionally, understand what he was actually saying. He wasn't insulting women. He was highlighting an evolutionary truth. A woman's youth and beauty are her currency, and she instinctively knows how to spend it for maximum return. Look around you. The average man today is drowning in a paradox. He's told to be emotionally vulnerable while women still chase dominance. He's shamed for wanting traditional masculinity, while strong alphas dominate every dating platform. He's worked to exhaustion providing in a system that rewards him with divorce courts and paternity tests. But here's where it gets dangerous. Modern women haven't just embraced their natural advantage. They've weaponized it. Social media didn't just change how we communicate. It fundamentally altered the power dynamics between men and women. Attention became currency, and suddenly, every woman had access to an unlimited supply of male attention, validation, and resources. The average man today is an unpaid laborer in this economy. He simps, he orbits, he competes desperately for scraps of validation from women who will never commit to him. Why? Because he's been sold a lie. That devotion alone is enough. That if he just proves his worth sufficiently, she'll eventually choose him. Schopenhauer saw this trap long before dating apps existed. Women are systematically trained to be incapable of genuine love. This sounds harsh until you understand what he meant. Female love is conditional. It's tied to utility. A man isn't cherished for who he is, but for what he provides. Status, security, genetic advantages. The moment he stops providing these, the love fades. This isn't cynicism, it's survival programming. Women are hardwired to seek the best possible mate. If a man stagnates, she will resent him. If he falls behind, she will replace him. And modern society? It cheers her on, calls it empowerment, calls it knowing her worth. Schopenhauer divided men into two categories, those who serve and those who are served. The beta exhausts himself trying to prove his worth. The alpha commands worth effortlessly. One begs for loyalty, the other inspires obsession. You see this everywhere. The office worker who sacrifices his health for a promotion, hoping it'll make his wife respect him again. The gym rat who transforms his body only to realize women now want him for sex, not commitment. The simp who spends his paycheck on a girl who will ghost him the second a higher status option appears. These men aren't victims, they're volunteers. But here's what most men never realize. The game they're playing, it's rigged, but only if you're playing by the wrong rules. Now, here's where Schopenhauer's insights become truly revolutionary. He uncovered something that modern psychology is only beginning to understand. Women don't compete like men. They don't challenge you directly. They don't flex their power where you can see it. Their greatest weapon is invisible, instinctive, and devastatingly effective: emotional influence. While men fight with fists or logic, women wage war through perception. They don't conquer territories. They manipulate reality itself. Consider this fundamental difference. When a man wants something, he demands it. When a woman wants something, she makes you believe it was your idea. Schopenhauer observed, "Women are adapted to a sedentary life by their lack of physical strength and to the care of children by their natural inclination. Hence, they live more in the present than men. But this present moment focus gives them a dangerous advantage. They read micro-expressions with surgical precision. They detect tone shifts that men miss entirely. They navigate social dynamics with near supernatural accuracy. A man thinks he's having a conversation. A woman is conducting an interrogation. Modern men believe they're in control of their relationships. They're wrong. From the first date to the divorce papers, women guide the interaction through a series of subtle tests. Most men fail without realizing they're being tested. The compliance test: how quickly you rearrange your schedule for her convenience. The frame test: whether you stand your ground or cave to her emotional pressure. The investment test: whether you chase more than she does. Schopenhauer warned, women are instinctively crafty and have an innate talent for deception. This isn't evil. It's evolutionary programming. In a world where physical strength didn't guarantee survival, emotional intelligence became the ultimate currency. The woman who couldn't navigate male psychology didn't pass on her genes. Here's where modern men walk blindly into the trap. They confuse a woman's attention for genuine interest. They mistake her presence for commitment. They interpret her tests as relationship building rather than value assessment. But Schopenhauer revealed the dark reality. Women are most drawn to men who don't need them. The moment you make a woman, your purpose is the moment she loses respect for you. This explains everything. Why nice guys finish last. Why marriages crumble after men sacrifice their ambitions. Why women pursue emotionally unavailable men with religious fervor. It's not that women want to be treated poorly. They're biologically wired to seek men of higher value. And nothing destroys perceived value faster than neediness. Every interaction with a woman contains an unspoken power struggle. Most men lose before they realize the battle has begun. She cries to avoid accountability. She withholds affection to train compliance. She flirts with others to test your confidence. She creates drama to see how you handle pressure. Schopenhauer called this the tyranny of the weak. Women leverage their perceived vulnerability to control stronger adversaries. A man who falls for this becomes a slave. A man who recognizes it, he becomes unstoppable. But here's the hope that changes everything. Schopenhauer's most liberating truth: the first step to freedom is seeing the chains. Once you understand that female nature isn't personal, it's biological, you stop taking it personally. You stop begging for loyalty and start inspiring it. You stop trying to prove your worth and start demonstrating it. The final lesson is the most important one. The most dangerous lies aren't the ones women tell men. They're the ones men tell themselves. And that realization? It opens the door to something far more powerful than romantic validation. Here's where Schopenhauer's wisdom transforms from dark observation to practical philosophy. His most devastating revelation wasn't about women at all. It was about the nature of human happiness itself. After exposing the brutal mechanics of attraction and power dynamics, he offered something far more valuable than relationship advice. He offered a path to liberation from the entire system. This isn't about defeating women. It's about transcending the game entirely. Modern men make one fatal error. They believe happiness comes from external validation, specifically female validation. They structure their entire lives around earning approval from creatures who are biologically programmed to be dissatisfied. Schopenhauer saw through this illusion completely. The happiness which we receive from ourselves is greater than that which we obtain from our surroundings. The men who truly thrive aren't those who conquer women. They're those who conquer themselves. They develop purposes so consuming, so intrinsically rewarding, that female attention becomes a pleasant bonus rather than a life or death necessity. History's most remarkable men, the artists who created immortal works, the inventors who changed civilization, the warriors who shaped empires, weren't distracted by the chase. They were too busy building something eternal. Here's the framework for unshakable masculine power. Economic sovereignty. Schopenhauer understood that money is human happiness in the abstract, not for what it buys, but for the freedom it secures. The man who controls his finances controls his fate. He doesn't need to compromise his values for a paycheck. He doesn't need to tolerate disrespect for security. He operates from abundance, not scarcity. Philosophical depth. Most men live on autopilot, consuming whatever thoughts society feeds them. The exceptional man cultivates a mind sharp enough to cut through societal lies. He reads voraciously. He debates fearlessly. He thinks independently. While others follow trends, he creates them. Physical mastery. The body isn't just a tool for attraction. It's the vessel of your will. Weakness here breeds weakness everywhere. The disciplined man who conquers his physical limitations develops the mental fortitude to conquer everything else. But here's where Schopenhauer's wisdom becomes truly revolutionary. The safest way of not being very miserable is not to expect to be very happy. This isn't pessimism, it's emotional armor. The man who stops begging for love, approval, or fairness suddenly finds these things flowing to him naturally. Why? Because he's removed himself from the desperate masses. He's become the prize instead of the pursuer. The battle between men and women isn't personal. It's biological theater that's been playing out across millennia. The man who wakes up to this reality stops blaming and starts evolving. He doesn't resent female nature. He adapts to it. He builds a life so compelling that women must either meet his standards or watch from the sidelines. Schopenhauer's ultimate lesson: we forfeit 3/4 of ourselves in order to be like other people. The choice is yours. Continue chasing illusions or step into your true power. The red pill isn't about hating women. It's about loving truth enough to rebuild yourself in its image. Most men will choose comfort over truth. They'll keep pretending they don't know what Schopenhauer said about women. They'll keep playing by rules designed to defeat them. They'll keep volunteering for their own destruction. But you're different. You're here. You're listening. You're ready to stop pretending and start living. The game is rigged, but only if you're playing by the wrong rules. Change the rules. Change your life. The power has been in your hands all along. You just needed someone to show you where to look. This is where your real life begins. Not in the validation of others, not in the approval of society, but in the unshakable foundation of self-mastery. Schopenhauer gave us the blueprint 2 centuries ago. The question isn't whether it works. The question is whether you have the courage to follow it. The secret most men carry to their graves? It doesn't have to be yours. The choice is yours. What will you do with it?